Okay guys, welcome to the final video of the Bleed Bow Gladiator. As you can see, we'll throw some gameplay up in the background and you are able to see that we've cleared the Atlas and we have finished our 2 opening Void Stones. That was the goal of the build. That is what we wanted to achieve and we've done that. So I actually found it very comfortable to kill all of the content and the Void Stones on very, very little sort of minimal gear. There's no audio because I was listening to a bit of Phil Collins and Genesis, mate, so don't want to get copyrighted. But the actual 7-stage puncture is completely solid, considering I'm basically on a scuffed 6-link with no investment. However, there is an annoying playstyle where if you're unsure of the animation of the boss, it's hard to get down a 7-stage snipe. In a boss like this, obviously, I've killed it enough that I know when I can channel and safely do it. So you can actually ramp pretty hard on certain bosses, such as, say, a Conqueror, which I've killed, say, like Hydra, when he's sniping, you can snipe. Phoenix is channeling, you can get your sniping. Obviously, I should switch to Frostblink so you can blink and channel at the same time. But actually, for damage, this was 2 or 3 days ago, this is pretty solid, and it was a deathless one, and I think we had 1 death to the red boss because I committed down on him when I probably should have just backed off, but I just wanted to get the kill. So I'll run you through the gear and I'll say, yeah, this was a decent starter build. It does run into some problems though, where the rares are so juiced up and giga strong that basically you run into this situation where you're unsure when to channel. And sometimes you get stunned and you might clear a pack and then you're left with a rare that's a bit awkward and it's not the most comfortable. Now, this jewel here that drops was a Forbidden Flesh or Flame, whichever one it is, and it managed to net me, I think it was 10.5 divines. It was the Berserker more damage taken one. Now, if we go into the character, it was just a 6-link with spell suppression and resist, no life on it. The ring was like one of these. It was my curse ring, and then I've just got a basic ring. Everything is just life resists. I have a little bit of spell suppression with gear that I found. All the gear, the bow, the helmet, the boots, the quiver, the amulet, the ring, these are all self-found. I made the belt, I think, in one of the crafting league mechanic things. And I also found these. I think these are the only ones I bought. No, I didn't buy them because they're that awful. No, I found these and then I kept them because I got Fizz Dot on them. And that was my setup. Deadly Ailment, Swift Affliction, Cruelty, Puncture, Snipe, Vicious Projectiles. And it cleared, as you can see, the entire Atlas. I've got my 2 Watchstones there. And yeah, it just ran out of steam a little bit. I began to feel a bit like not so sure if it's a build I want to continue on with, just because I got that drop that was worth multiple divines. I'd had a few divines drop that I'd still not spent because I was SSF in my gear. And to be honest, that was the whole point of the build. The whole point of the build was to just do the Atlas, chat with friends and chill, and not have to spend anything because the build can do the Atlas without a huge investment. I didn't need a specific 2-3 divine unique or anything like that. And you can see here that, alright, look, I think we have 1 or 2 deaths to this guy. But honestly, like, the damage, considering I'm on totally SSF gear with nothing spent, is pretty decent to clear the full Atlas. It's just in those situations where you say do an expedition and there's some rares and then they get, like, say, Soul Eater and some damage reduction or whatever the combo may be, that a lot of the time I don't want to sit there firing off, like, 20 individual channeled snipes because it's a bit awkward to get the 7th stage sniping and blah blah blah. So I'm just going to try something a little bit different, and I've leveled up an arc mage, I think it's called, which can just apparently use each spell. So if I get a little bit bored of Frostbolt Archmage, I can try Arc or I can try Firestorm. That was me just eating the full wrath of his attacks there. But it got the job done, and yeah, I think I don't know if I'd recommend it because I think there are better starters. But if you did want a league starter bow build just to get that kind of bow feel and you didn't want to spend a lot of currency, it does work. Would I probably league start it again? No, but I typically just don't ever league start the same thing 2 times in a row because that's just boring, even though it might be efficient. I'd probably be able to get better gear now that I know what I'm looking for on the build, because obviously the first time you play it, you're not really sure what to pick up. Do I need dex? Do I need int? You know, all that kind of stuff. But it got the job done, cleared the Atlas. Now the league's been buffed a lot and the crafting does seem better. The only issue I guess I would have is it's a shame they didn't do it at the very beginning of the league, because now when you level a new character, which I've just done, you don't really want to use the crafting recipes, even though they're buffed, and instead of saying 10% chance to get a life node, you see there I tried to commit and kill him. I thought I'd be able to kill him on one shot, but then he dies out of screen. Typical. So the shield wasn't very well rolled. But yeah, if we take a look at the gear, you know, it's really not. It just had some random flasks going on. I wasn't too keen on the whole mana pot situation. That got a little bit annoying. But I'll probably just sell the gems up, make a little bit of currency, and then play my new build. But it's been okay. There's obviously ways you can sink a lot of money into it. Cluster jewels, pride, malevolence, much higher DPS bow. This is only like a 400 DPS bow. You know, there's tons and tons of stuff you can do to ramp it up, but I figured, alright, I've kind of experienced that build now, I've played it, I've got some currency, I've got like 19 divines, I'd rather just play something new and try something new. If you want to ask any questions, just ask away in the comments or on Twitch. I probably won't do another video update of the build progress. This was more just a chat about PoE, really. I think the league's got a lot better. The crafting is still a bit scuffed, I guess you'd say, because it's kind of like you go into the graveyard and you've got situations like this where you've got this like family buried, and you know, even when I find the 4th one, that it's probably going to drop a 1 alk unique. I've got 3 here buried. I know you could put them in like the coffin and then just pop them all out when you've got all 4, but I can't keep track of who I need. I've got about 20 of the same people. You've kind of got to, so I guess the confusing part for probably most people is to make something really good, you've kind of got to know about crafting. It's not super intuitive. Like, for example, if I'm making a bow, one of the things I might want is like less resistance modifiers, because it can roll triple res, and I might want to, you know, let's say create some gem level gear and then put the fracture chances in, get 100% chance to fracture something decent. You know what I mean? Like, and then make it have no suffixes, so I'm only fracturing prefixes or whatever it may be. You've got to know, like, okay, there's no mana tag on bows, so we don't need less mana. Or there's no caster curse or something. Oh, but there's a caster curse on rings and I want cast speed, but I don't want a speed mod because I don't want attacks. You know what I mean? You've got to know what is what tag, and that is kind of where PoE does lack. So for example, like when I press Alt here and I look at spell damage, that doesn't tell me that that's a defense tag or a life tag or an attack tag or whatever. You know, you've got to know the whole spreadsheet game. Otherwise, most of your crafting is just going to be like putting random stuff in and praying, and that's probably not going to work. So yeah, it keeps all the bodies stored in the morgue, which I guess is pretty interesting. But yeah, we're just going to carry on with the new character. The new character is this Archmage character. We'll see how that goes. I'm not overly fussed about the league, if that makes sense, but I haven't quite got into the nitty gritty of crafting, just because I think you're going to want high level bodies, I suppose you call them, and this build has got to the point where I kind of want to juice my maps up a little bit, but the whole playstyle does get a little bit annoying trying to snipe something that's moving. It's fine to get you through the Atlas when you're not got any, you know, you're not trying to juice. But when you add in on rituals and harbingers and and you're trying to, juice up your map a little bit, it's just not very enjoyable to try fish for a snipe. So the only other way to get around that is obviously get your gear so good that you're barely using snipe apart from the huge bosses. But I'd rather put that currency into a different build, just because I've kind of experienced this build. Like, if I put 100 divines into this build, it's going to play the exact same way. So there's not really too much to, I suppose, learn from the play style or the gameplay. But yeah, that's my, I suppose, build diary if you want. Yeah, cool.